Namaste. Gems from Savitri. The first one is from Book 1, Canto 2, The Issue. The specific portions which are so illuminating and so powerful that even in the darkest times you will see light there, light pointing like a sunbeam on the path. This is a beautiful, remarkable passage on page 11. An absolute supernatural darkness falls on man sometimes when he draws near to God. An hour arrives when fail all nature's means, forced out from the protecting ignorance and flung back on his naked primal need, he at length must cast from him his surface soul and be the ungarbed entity within. So it is such a significant passage. So there are times when, whether an individual or a group or the collective life or the life of the world, a shadow falls. It's a supernatural darkness. It's something which you can't understand why it has come, like the Grahan, Surya Grahan, supernatural darkness. So why it is called? Because why do they say in ancient times don't look at a Surya Grahan and all that? Because it's very unnatural. So in the ancient time there was a wisdom which said that when there are unnatural phenomena, like there are times when there is a thing which happens in season. But when a thing is not happening in a particular season, but out of season, you should be careful. You should immediately. And you can apply this wisdom anywhere. That's how it operates. When a thing is happening which is not normally expected to happen, then there is something unnatural about it. And unnatural things carry behind them forces of a different order. So, supernatural darkness, like we see during the last 1 year. So, what happens during that time? Nothing works. We believe that it'll work, but nothing works. But what is that moment? It is also a moment when we are actually being drawing near to God. It's a moment when, and see the symbol again of the Surya Grahan. How are we advised to spend the day? Leave aside the superstition or a mathematical understanding. Look at a symbol. It's an unnatural darkness. So what are people advised? Spend their time day in prayers, meditations, isn't it? That's how it's the advice given. It's a symbol of life. When there is a supernatural darkness, it's a time when instead of turning outward, turn within. So this is a moment given to us. It's in nature. That's what it means. An hour arrives when fail all nature's means, forced out from the protecting ignorance. Nothing is able to protect you. Protecting ignorance. What is the protecting ignorance? Ignorance is like, everything is goody goody. So one day that mask is torn. We have some concepts of life. For instance, people have this concept that if I am doing prayer every day and going to temple, I'll be protected. Or I'm a member of a certain community. No, this is a kind of ignorance. A belief system can still be an ignorance because it's not yet supported by the deeper faith and the light of a greater truth. So all the ignorant means, doctor will save me, this person will help me, all that is cast out. Nothing is working, nothing is helping. So what do we do that time? And flung back on his naked primal need. What is the primal need? Primal need is the original need that is within man to transcend, to go beyond himself and discover that, of course, ultimately, he is divine and all is the divine. This is the primal need because of which all these other ramifications are taking place. So what we should do at that point of time, he at length must cast from him his surface soul. Surface soul is the ego, desire, constructed sense of self. When we say me, I, so what are we referring to? This surface soul. It's the soul of desire, which we mistake for the true soul. And what we should do? Be the ungarbed entity within. Do you realize how beautiful these rishis were who created such symbolic tales like Draupadi's? Do you see Draupadi's event? See in the light of these lines. Absolute supernatural darkness. Can you ever imagine that an empress who has 5 husbands whom even the gods will think twice before challenging them is helplessly dragged to the court of her own people with people like Bhishma and Dronacharya? Isn't it a supernatural darkness? Something happened. Everybody was eclipsed. Absolute supernatural darkness. So what happens during that time? She is forced out from their protecting ignorance. All these fellows will save me. Nobody saves. All the 5 Pandavas are hanging their head in shame. Bhishma is lost in a maze of should I not, throne or promise and all this. Dronacharya is thinking they are trying to see, but she has 5 husbands, so it is justifiable. All these are things going on. So what does she do? Forced out, he at length must cast from his surface soul. I am no more Draupadi. So who is she? She says, I am Yagyaseni, born of fire, and be the ungarbed entity within. And when Draupadi takes that mood and that mode, that I am born of the fire, and who is there to protect me? None of these fellows but Krishna, whom I have loved with all my heart and all my being. And then you see the magic happens. So whenever these moments come in life, Mother says, difficult hours come to earth so that we turn inwards. They are given to man. They are actually a blessing if you see that way. So that we can turn inward and discover what we already are and were. What the Spirit already knew. But we have forgotten and lost it. So these are moments to turn within and discover the truth of who we really are inwardly. So with this line, we'll stop. An absolute supernatural darkness falls on man sometimes when he draws near to God. An hour arrives when fail all nature's means, forced out from the protecting ignorance. All the relatives have turned away, left you. Friends say, no, I can get contaminated. The doctors say, I don't know. We will try our best. At that point of time, make a absolute complete surrender to the mother. With complete trust, abandon oneself to her. And just say, Ma, it's your creation, your body, your mind, your life. It's up to you. I abandon myself completely to you. So that is the moment. An hour arrives when fail all nature's means, forced out from the protecting ignorance, and flung back on his naked primal need. He at length must cast from him his surface soul. Beautiful occasion to get rid of the ego self. Why? Because you realize that this is not going to survive. What does death tell us? Fellow, your name, form, achievements, I am going to swallow you. If you cling to those things, it will swallow you. But if you say, but this is not me. The story of the Sphinx, this is not me. This never was I. Now you try. It cannot. Because when you discover that you are the immortal self, and it's not that one has to do yoga. These are moments when you can actually speed up the process. It's a leap. Precisely because you are helpless. You are gasping for breath. And that is the time. Don't look for oxygen, but look for Ma. I'll get oxygen. Where I will get oxygen? Just imagine how miserable that death is. You were gasping for breath and you were looking for something that can give life to your body. Look for something that can give life to the soul. That alone counts. He at length must cast from him his surface soul and be the ungarbed entity within.